It's time now for the Kill the Can Podcast.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Kill the Can Podcast. I hope this finds you well. If you're like me, you're in the midst of back-to-school activities. My youngest had a preview day yesterday. So he's in 6th grade. So he went yesterday, and then he will not go back until Thursday. I have no idea why my school district does this. They just kind of like to prolong the back-to-school, quote-unquote, fun. My middle guy is a senior in high school, so he actually started today. And my oldest graduated from high school. He is a freshman in college. We took his stuff to school last Friday, and then we will drop him off this Friday, where we'll leave him, and he starts school on Monday. I share this not because it is relevant to anybody, but it is kind of the stuff that I've been dealing with lately. And the reason I share that is because I've been asked on several occasions, hey, Chewie, like, where's the podcast? Are you going to record again? And again, the questions are coming from a place of purely positivity. Like, they're not negative at all. The questions that I've been receiving are, hey, I really enjoy the podcast. Like, why haven't you been recording? And like, it's stuff like this, right? In addition to that, my family and I went on a family vacation, and we went to Puerto Rico for about 8 or 9 days. And when I was there, I didn't really, aside from post and roll, I didn't really do a whole lot with the Kill the Can community. And again, I share this not because it's necessarily relevant, but I share it because in all of these things that are going on in my personal life, the stress of going back to school, the immense stress of having my oldest and my first move out of the house and go to college, and dealing with my wife, who really will have a hard time with that on Friday, dropping off her baby at college, going on vacation, all the things that kind of come along with that. I didn't think about dip once. It never even crossed my mind. And that is a really, really cool thing. It's an awesome place to be in my personal quit. And I say this not to brag, or I say this not to boast. I say this not for props, but I say this as a reminder to all those out there that might be struggling. If you're just quit, or you're thinking about quitting, or you're 30 days in or 200 days in, and you're like, oh shit, I just had a really bad day, or I just had a really nasty dip dream, or a really bad crave. I'm sharing this as a reminder that life gets really, really good after you're no longer worrying about nicotine. There will come a time where you're not craving, where you're not worried about it, where you're not white-knuckling through the next minute or hour or day thinking about where you're going to get that next dip, that next nicotine pouch, or those kind of things. Speaking of nicotine pouches, I have to share this story. So there's a good buddy of mine that I've actually talked about on the podcast previously. And he was a guy, if you recall the story, I was telling a story about how we were talking about kind of our vices. I was talking about alcohol. He was talking about nicotine. He posted on, I think it was TikTok the other day, and he went on kind of this long, I won't call it a rant, but this long diatribe about just how messed up and how stupid he felt 48 hours in from not having nicotine. and he was a big nicotine pouch user, and he was talking about just how much nicotine he was ingesting, how often, the levels that he was dealing at. He was even considering the idea that he might have been dealing with some nicotine poisoning because of the levels that he was dealing with. And he was talking about it at the time of this recording, he had been nicotine free for about 48 hours. And so, as we know in the Kill the Can community, the nicotine was still working its way out of his body. And he was describing and talking about how the fact he was just, in his mind, he was just dumb, right? He was having trouble forming sentences. He was having trouble kind of going through, hour by hour without nicotine. And he was clearly, during this video, really struggling. Not necessarily from a craving perspective, but he was really struggling again, just like kind of to form sentences. He almost looked like he was drunk, and I responded to that video and kind of gave him some support, and in fact I sent him a text the next day or so, and I asked him how he was feeling, and I'm happy to say that he was feeling better. He's still quit, and I think he's understanding just how powerful a drug nicotine is. And even in today's media landscape, where there's this onslaught of, I won't call it propaganda, but there's this onslaught of content about how nicotine is beneficial and nicotine is helpful for you. And again, I'm not going to sit here and even dispute some of that stuff anymore. There was a time in my quit when I would have taken the position about how terrible nicotine is for every single person out there. I don't really take that position anymore. Now, let me be perfectly crystal clear. I am not in any way, shape, or form changing my stance on nicotine. For me, as a nicotine addict, I simply cannot ever again, quote unquote, enjoy the benefits of nicotine. Period, paragraph, end of story. I have not changed my tune. I've not changed my opinion. In fact, I might have even increased my belief in how dangerous nicotine is for me as a nicotine user. And it's because of the stories that I've heard from people coming into our community looking to quit nicotine pouches. It's things like watching the video of my friend Dustin, watching him withdraw from nicotine, purely from nicotine pouches, and seeing how much people are struggling to quit these products. And again, I truly do believe that a lot of these people have been using these products based on, again, this onslaught of media content telling them how, quote unquote, good nicotine is for them. It's good for studying. It's good for ADHD. It's good for, all these things, right? And again, I'm not here to dispute the science, but what I can tell you is unequivocally, for a nicotine addict, we cannot enjoy those benefits. So, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting because I have really seen an uptick in the white nicotine pouch content that I see. I have really seen a massive uptick in the number of members that join the Kill the Can community looking to quit these products. In fact, there's I don't know. I would have to go back and actually look at some numbers. I think it's probably fair to say that the amount of people joining the Kill the Can community today is at least equal to, if not more, when we're talking about the percentages of people that are quitting nicotine pouches versus what I would call traditional nicotine products, right? Smokeless tobacco, dip, chew, those kind of things. I guess the positive in all of this, if you're looking at the number of people that are smoking traditional cigarettes, which I think we all agree are kind of the worst of the worst, right? Because not only do you get the addictive products of nicotine, but you're also getting all of the absolutely terrible side effects of combustible tobacco smoke, right? In your lungs, on your, in your throat, on your mouth, those kind of things. Traditional cigarette smoking is way down, which is a really, really good, positive thing. I fear, though, that big tobacco is using these nicotine pouches as their next way in. And make no mistake, all of these products, whether it's Zyn or On or what have you, they are owned and operated by big tobacco. So don't think for a moment that they're not. They have their hooks into you, and the reality is they are there to make a profit, and they are there to make the most addictive product that they can so that you will be a customer, quote unquote, for life. It's actually really nefarious when you think about it, and it is one more reason why I am eternally grateful that I am quit. Changing topics here, I wanted to make you aware of something that I thought was really cool that one of our members is doing. Community member Can Do It has had this idea of kind of going back to basics, right? And so he has come up with this idea of having a traditional roll call on the forums. It is not on our Discord server. And it is, I don't have it in front of me, so if I miss the details, I apologize. But it is for only members that are more than a year quit. And it is kind of a, again, getting back to basics, roll call only, no spreadsheets of accountability, nothing like that. 100 days for those that are past a year. And I think and I have not talked to him, so I don't know exactly his intent, but I believe the intent is, hey, let's get back to basics. Let's do again what got us here. Let's reestablish and rebuild some bonds of brotherhood and communication, and again, kind of go back to basics. And I just thought that was a really kind of cool idea, and I wanted to give him props for that. It started yesterday, August 18th, as I record this. Today's the 19th, and I believe his intent is to go 100 days. It is one single roll call for anybody that wants to be included on it. If you go to the forums, KTCforum.org, again, you'll see it. It's one of the first things that you'll see there kind of on that homepage. So again, mad props to him. I think that's a really cool idea. I put my name on that line yesterday, and I plan on doing it for the next 100 days. So I hope you enjoy these podcasts. As I said in the intro, I get a lot of positive feedback about them. So for those of you that have been on me to say, hey, Chewie, when are you recording again? I appreciate you. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate comments, questions. Some of the most downloaded episodes of the podcast are those where I take like YouTube comments and questions and TikTok comments and questions and kind of ask the question and answer them live. So I will be doing some more of those here in the future. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the feedback, the comments, the questions. And again, if you've got a question about your quit that you don't want me to, like, when I answer it, you want the answer, but you don't want me to include it in the podcast, or you don't want me to include your name, just tell me, and I won't. But what I would ask, if you're okay with it, is let me answer those questions on the podcast, because even if you think it's a question that is like specific to you or a little bit embarrassing or what have you, I'm here to tell you that you're most likely not alone in that. And if it's something that you're dealing with, whether it's specifically about your quit or is like quit adjacent, right? Like something else in your life that may or may not have, like, send it in. Let's answer it. Let's talk about it, because I can almost guarantee you that you're not the only one that is dealing with that particular thing. One more thing that I wanted to touch on today. I have seen an increased or an uptick of Hall of Fame speeches and comma speeches in the last couple of months. And I'm here to publicly thank those people that have written those speeches. I'm here to thank those people that have been pushing the writing of those speeches. Again, as I've talked about on this podcast previously, I can't tell you how important I think those speeches are. Not just for you, the person that's writing them, but for me and for anybody else that may run across those speeches, whether they are like me, going back and remembering how you felt at 100 days or 200 days or whenever they're written, or for yourself going back and rereading them and putting yourself back into that mindset and reminding yourself how proud you are of your accomplishment, or of the person that hasn't started their quit yet, and for whatever reason they run across that speech, whether it's a Google search, whether it's somebody shared it on a social media timeline, what have you. Hall of Fame speeches, in my opinion, are paramount to long-term success, not only for you, but for the community. So thank you to those that have written them. Thank you to those that have suggested writing them. And if you haven't written one yet, get out there, write it, submit it. We'll get it posted. I cannot wait to read it. I hope your quit is treating you well. I'm honored to be quit with you today. We'll talk to you soon, quitters. Have a good day.
Join us again next time for another edition of the Kill the Can Podcast.